Over the past 4 years, the maximum penalty handed down to Auckland business owners who flouted building safety laws has been, wait for it, $1,000. The Auckland Council and the building compliance industry both say the penalties are too low, while fire safety experts warn it's just a matter of time before the city has an incident similar to the shopping fire in Russia this week that killed 64 people. Zach Fleming investigates.
The average fine for an Aucklander who refuses to make sure their building is safe is just $453, or 0.23% of the maximum fine possible. And that's usually after months or even years of threats from Auckland Council.
I don't think that's good enough at all. I think that's a very weak approach.
Rosie Killip, the Director of Building Networks, who describes herself as
New Zealand's leading authority on building compliance,
says Auckland Council and Auckland's judges need to be harsher on bad building owners. The council prosecutes as an absolute last resort. Take the Skyworld building, for example, which Checkpoint has covered extensively. It didn't have a legitimate warrant for years and had an extensive list of fire safety issues, yet its owner, James Quack, was never prosecuted or fined. Maybe because Auckland Council avoids court, because of the weak penalties handed down. GM of Building Consents Ian McCormick says most owners cooperate.
But there's a small proportion of folk who, don't. And, when you consider for us, the amount of work that's gone into try and avoid having to get taking legal action, we would certainly encourage, more substantive penalties in this area.
The penalties are about as low as they can go. The maximum a judge could impose is a fine of $200,000 and then $20,000 for every day the building's not compliant after that. But over the past 4 years, of the 29 people Auckland Council's tried to prosecute, 7 were discharged without a conviction, and the maximum penalty handed down was a measly $1,000 fine. And remember, this is after Council has exhausted every other avenue of trying to get the owner to cooperate.
If we had some significant penalties to be able to, make them aware of, I think we'd get compliance from people more rapidly.
We wanted to know what the high end of offending was, what would warrant a $1,000 fine. But Auckland Council redacted all personal information from the prosecution list it gave Checkpoint. The Chief Judge of the District Court declined to comment for this story. Her office said it would be constitutionally improper to talk about prosecutorial discretion. Checkpoint wasn't able to find anyone in the justice system who'd talk about penalties and whether they're enough. Rosie Killip says it's not just judges though. She says council needs to be harsher on owners too.
It is expensive to put together briefs of evidence and to go down the prosecution route. The infringement regime was supposed to mitigate that. And again, it seems at a very high level it is a system that most councils don't want to put in place.
Combined, she says Auckland's literally playing with fire.
On the ground and the front line of people who do this kind of checking of fire alarm systems, sprinklers and so forth, they tell me it's a matter of time.
A matter of time before we have a disastrous fire on the level of London's Grenfell Tower blaze, for example, which killed 71 people. Here's fire safety expert Ron Green talking to RNZ last year after that fire.
We can't keep doing what we're doing, otherwise we could have a disaster and then things will change, but we don't want to do that. We want things to change before we have a disaster.
We all work, live, play in buildings in a pretty complacent mindset. Start bleating about it, Instagram it, put it out there and start talking about these issues.
Before it's too late. For Checkpoint, Zach Fleming.